Yang terhormat Ibu Sri Mulyani PhD, Menteri Keuangan Republik Indonesia, para sejawat dari FPUI, colleagues from ANU, Pak Budi dan Pak Kris, para hadirin kalian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is great privilege to host the Sadli lecture for 11 times. We have been collaborating with the Indonesia Project, ANU, since 10 years ago to conduct study lecture series in economic policy. Today's lecture will be speaker our colleagues from FEB and also this TKNB distinguished professor Muhammad Basri PhD. As a discussion will be Reza Sirgar, PhD from IMF Institute for Capacity Development, and Ibu Profesor Mari Pangestu from Faculty of Economic and Business University of Indonesia. The collaboration between Faculty of Economic and Business and Indonesia Project ANU actually beyond just series lecture. I remember about 20 years ago or 15 years ago, the Indonesia Project actually the first institution that introduced to us what we call now as sabbatical. We used to know that sabbatical not as the scholar thing, but as Black Sabbath, I think the underground music. But I think at the time, after we graduate, I think in my generation, also Ibu Ani's generation, the only thing we did after we graduate is just working for the LPM project. We call it research, but actually customized research. So we were not really researcher, but we are pekerja riset. But then came ANU to us, offering us to spend 6 weeks to feel what was life in Canberra. At the time, it was little quiet. I think the only bus crossing the campus is number 38. One direction to Wooden, one direction to Belconnen. I remember took a bus in both directions, and the only passenger was me. But it changed. I think 2 years ago, in 2014, I was invited by Pak Budi. I spent about 2 weeks here, and bus was full, and in the downtown we have a Thai restaurant, Vietnam restaurant, everything, you name it. And I think for to the generation, spending some time in Canberra will be much more fun than my generation. But I think the one thing that we appreciate about the project is that we learn to be a true scholar in Canberra, because we forget everything except to finish chapter or article for Bulletin of Indonesian Economy and doing some 1 or 2 seminar. Again, I like to appreciate for the project for our long-lasting collaboration. We hope that this collaboration will last into the future. And finally, for all, I wish you to get good insight from the two director, from Bapak Basri, Tale of Two Countries, India, Indonesia. Lesson learned from 2013 taper tantrum. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Professor Ari Kunchoro, thank you for your remarks. To formally open the 11th Sadli lecture, we would like to invite Minister of Finance, Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, PhD, to deliver her keynote speech. Ibu Sri Mulyani, the floor is yours.
Thank you, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all of you. Actually, I see most of the faces here is actually speak Bahasa, and the speaker is in Bahasa, through discussion also in Bahasa. The keynote speech is going to be in English, so it's, this is just to train us how to speak with the different language. Paris opening by giving the story of his sabbatical and his very nice memory of Canberra. But then I look at today is a Sadli, 11th Sadli lecture. So I really remember the late Pak Sadli and the Canberra, because he asked me at one time, what city is among your favorite city in the world? And I said Canberra. You look at me with a strange face. Why you like Canberra, Ani? That is the most beautiful graveyard, he said. I love a small city. I love relatively controllable city, which is, I think it will make my life less complicated. So in memory of Pak Sadli, our beloved Pak Sadli, we miss him very much. Today we are going to have a lecture by Pak Khatib about a tale of two countries, Indonesia and India, lesson learned from the 2013 paper tantrum. I think I remember also Pak Khatib sent me his paper when he was in Harvard about this. So let me maybe give you a bit what is the context for Indonesia. First, I would like to thank LPEM as well as Indonesia Project for hosting this important and interesting as well as timely topic, because I was just finished my attendance on the ADB 50th anniversary in Yokohama, and almost all the discussion in both seminar as well as interview by the media, they are asking about 20 years of the ASEAN financial crisis. And the second one is Asia is going to be ready with the increasing interest rate or normalization of the Federal Reserve policy. So they're asking, is there any taper tantrum again in Asia? So I wish that we have this meeting before I left to Yokohama so I can give a much better answer. But I think I gave a little bit more or less the answer which is related to the fundamental, which is I think will be reflected in Pak Khatib paper. We are all remember 2013 taper tantrum in this case. It's a situation which is challenged almost all emerging countries. This taper tantrum is an example of how being integrated in a global economy can get the benefit, but also can easily also receive a transmission of shock. The globally integrated financial market, especially with the speed of decision to move capital from country to country, provided an emerging economy, especially open emerging economy, with a risk. Indonesia and India, in this case, was actually not free from this capital outflow. When the announcement of the increasing Federal Reserve rate, because of still the plan actually at that time, 2015, Indonesia and India were categorized by Morgan Stanley as the Fragile Five, together with Brazil, South Africa, and Turkey. At that time, I was still in Washington, so I feel so sad that Indonesia now suddenly become a Fragile Five. So I asked Pak Khatib Asri at that time what went wrong. We examined why the Federal Reserve announcing that plan is, of course, the first plan is more like a shock. Although actually everybody knows that the unconventional monetary policy will not lasting forever. We all know that. Just like everybody said that at some point you will die, but when there is really somebody who we love so much, care so much die, we always like say, oh, it's a shock. But this is not like that kind of situation. All this normalization of the monetary policy knows that it is coming. So when this unconventional is about to end, and the Federal Reserve announcing it to the public, to the market reacted very surprised. And that is something that we really need to learn about the market reaction. The question about what is exactly they anticipating or understanding the policy communication, and what is actually their expectation from the policymaker. I think that is one of the most important study that we really need to understand. Part of the response can be explained by the fundamentals. I think when we look at the fundamental of this fragile five or other emerging country, the market will look what is the similarity or dissimilarity among all countries. If they are going to expose more in terms of their vulnerability, the vulnerability is always translated into a couple of indicators: current account deficit, fiscal deficit, dependency of the foreign, especially on the debt market, both at the corporate as well as public, debt to GDP ratio. The composition of the current account is also equally important. The composition of the capital flow is also important. These are all going to be one of the indicators that then is mentioning about how a country can be classified as, what you call it, fragile or not fragile, responding to what we call it a shock or announcement policy change. We all know that United States, of course, as the biggest country in the world, is systematically important country. No matter what they are doing, what they are saying, it's going to shape and change the perception about risk, about opportunity, as well as what they call it fragility or threat. That is the fact of life. So this is very important for all of us to learn about the market reaction in terms of how we respond to the systematically important country. I do wish that today, the learning from this temper tantrum 2013 and what make Indonesia classify as fragile five, and then after that Indonesia and India has been seen a year later as the two countries that actually can emerge or can distinguish or discriminate from the other. I think that is really quite remarkable achievement. So we would like to learn, of course, from Pak Khatib as a decision maker at that time. He was the one who has to respond to the situation with the government policy. I think what I can notice is, of course, first, the ability for a country to respond is very critical. When there is a shock, the country have to look at and diagnose very, very quickly. Of course, diagnostic exercise should not only be done when there is a shock. We should always doing it in a more regular way. Indonesia now have what we call it financial sector safety net, which we are discussing among the OJK, LPS, Bank Indonesia, and Ministry of Finance as a committee, KSSK. This is a committee which have a regular meeting quarterly to discuss about the vulnerability as well as the situation of financial sector in general, to identify what is the pressure point, where is the vulnerabilities, where is the strength, and how the government policy need to be then translated and transmitted to the financial sector. So there is a really institutionalizing mechanism which is now much, much better than maybe before. Regularity, institutionalization, and understanding about what is the vulnerability and diagnostic of the not only financial sector but also the rest of the economy. So if we understand and have this identification, then if there is a shock, we can easily then first understand where this shock will be transmitted, what is going to be the shock absorber, and how we can minimize the shock to the, especially what we care most, that is the people, whether this is a poor people, or we are talking about middle class, or employment in this case. That is the most important end or goals. then we as a policymaker has to think about what is the policy, the shock absorber, and how we are going to adjust in order to protect what is the most important in managing the economy. I think this episode of Taper Tantrum provided us with a very valuable lesson about how a shock can come expectedly or unexpectedly, even if expectedly, timing-wise can be also unpredictable. They can say that I'm going there, but you really don't know when they are going to depart, where they are going to stop, how fast they are going there. That is something which is, even when you are communicated, still creating but a lot of uncertainty. So this kind of uncertainty need to be managed, and possible shock need to be identified, so that every day we will be able to actually make an exercise. What does it mean if we are facing with this kind of shock? Now, for Indonesia, flexibility is important. After flexibility is responsiveness. How quickly the policymaker will be able to respond. And the third one is the credibility. If you are responding but you're not credible, then your response is not going to be then effective. And credibility is really a function of so many things: track record of the government, the effectiveness to deliver what you say, and the ability or the power for you to really influence the player in the economy. That is always very important during the uncertain time. Leadership, credibility, and effectiveness cannot be created instantly. It is actually a building up to that situation. And that's why policymaker cannot just, you suddenly become credible. You really have to build a track record in terms of the policy message, policy implementation, policy certainty is going to be very critical. I think Khatib is going to mention and discuss about this quite lengthy in his paper. But that is all the area which I firmly believe is very also important for Indonesia as a small open economy. We are relatively still small, although we are in the G20, but we are definitely affected by the global economy, that we have to be able to continue. While first we agree and we believe that openness is important, we also have to equip ourselves by our ability to manage this openness through ability to absorb shock, through flexibility, responsiveness, and credibility of the policymaker as well as the policy framework which is adopted by Indonesia. And in Indonesian case, I'm not going to go through lengthy to the technical detail, because this is really the stage for Khatib to mention about what is the policy on the fiscal side, monetary side, balance of payment in general, but also on the real sector. But what I'm going to just, and I'm sure Reza coming from the IMF is going to use this language. This is the language of the IMF. When you are in a lovely day, when everybody partying, you have, as a policymaker, do your job to create policy space. When the rain is coming, the thunderstorm, or there is a tsunami, that's where the space is going to be very important. So policymaker is actually always in an opposite direction of the mood of the people. When you are all happy and make a party, we work very hard. When you are crying, we also work even more harder in this case. So when you accept the job as a policymaker, you actually make a contract that your life is going to be really like that. It's going to be unpopular and different from the people, because you want to serve the people to be able to party, to have the life to achieve the development goal. And that's exactly the most important. Flexibility, responsiveness, credibility is really depend on whether you have ammunition on the policy. So in the fiscal side, meaning that you have to be able to create a space. And in the Indonesian side, meaning that you have to collect tax more, especially when the economy is booming. And that's why reform in the tax system is important. You have to make sure that you're spending it better and right, so that every dollar or every rupiah spent is going to create more capacity in the economy rather than wasting, not to mention corruption in this case. And you have to make it the balance, the fiscal balance, in the way that you are going to be able to stabilize the economy when it is needed, when it is overheating, just like the year before taper tantrum. Capital outflow is huge, really huge. I actually read and try to look at what is the magnitude. 500 billion US dollar fresh capital outflowing from advanced country to the emerging country. The top 10 receiver, including Indonesia and India. And that's why when this money that is free money, because the Federal Reserve injected money in the economy and the US economy is no longer actually needed, and they are flowing out from the United States going to the emerging country. Then without any explanation from the domestic side, when they said, you money coming back, they are coming back, and then all the emerging country have to live with the consequence. And that is exactly that kind of shock that we, leading to the temper tantrum with overheating, then all the monetary as well as fiscal tools have to be able to manage during that time. That is when there is a boom, capital inflow. Also, when there is a bust, and then you have the capital outflow, you still have the instrument which is effective enough. I think that is the most important message that I would like to give. Of course, with this presentation and the Sadli lecture, I would like to hear more from the LPM Indonesia project, Pak Khatib, Ibu Mari, Pak Reza, to provide the government more advice how we should do with our situation. To be honest with you, as I said last week, that question is coming repeatedly. So this is still very relevant. Are we okay? Did we learn from what happened in 2013? Are we now accumulating another vulnerability? Is Indonesia good enough and strong enough, have the ability to absorb or to manage any shock? And if there is any new identifying potential shock coming, we've already quite relieved with the French election result. Now, will we still continue worry about US? To look at what is the relationship between UK and the Europe leading to this, the Brexit process. The UK election is going to come. And then we all know maybe the Greece is going to be still continue managed before the Germany election. And then we are going to have, of course, the China with the political party leaders meeting by the end of the fall this year. So all these things seems all political, but they are shaping the policy and changing quite a lot what is going to happen. Not to mention, of course, about this North Korea, South Korea, or North Korea situation. So all these things is going to be all the potential identifying shock that we really need to always ask ourselves, where the vulnerability. At the end, I'm going to just maybe reminding myself as a Minister of Finance, leading to 97-98 financial crisis in Asia, including Indonesia, we always feel at that time that Indonesia is among the poster child for the developing country. Growth is good, poverty reduction, stability is fine, and then we have the shock, and then we are devastated by that shock. Today, maybe we really have to look after what Reza is going to say about the policy space. We have to scrutinize on the balance sheet. Is the balance sheet of the government okay? Is the balance sheet of the central bank is okay? Is the balance sheet of the financial sector is okay? And is the balance sheet of the corporation is okay? And is the balance sheet of the household is also okay? That need to be scrutinized in order for us to be at least know where the risk is, because the transmission is going to come in the form of the shock, which then affecting the balance sheet of each of these players. So I would like to officially open this Sadli lecture, and I wish you all to have a very, very good, productive, good quality of discussion. Of course, with the one very prominent speaker and two extremely also prominent discussion, you all have all the quality of time not to miss this good discussion. I really thank Pak Dekan, Pak Budi from Indonesia Project, LPM, Ibu Riatu, and all the colleagues here to organizing this one. I wish that actually the attendance is more than this one, because this is a very good discussion. So I do hope that this is going to be, what you call it, live streaming or recorded, especially for Fakultas Ekonomi. tidak hanya Universitas Indonesia tapi juga universitas yang lain bisa enjoy this kind of conversation. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mulyani and Indrawati, thank you for your speech. We would like to invite all speakers and discussants, Ibu Sri Mulyani, Bapak Karti Basri, Profesor Mariel Kapangestu, Profesor Ari Kuncoro, Bapak Budi Reso Sudarmo, Bapak Reza Siregar, Ibu Riatu, Bapak Kiki Feriko to come to this stage for the brief photo session.